he went, so he was at, with his disabilities, with the covers and things, but they don't have their specialists, they just refer to Stanford. I don't know if that's like messing everything up or.
City official. You're on the app or the website?
It might be better right now. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
City. Maybe I'll just send you the link. You're a texter, right? I do it all. And then just click subscribe. And there you go.
Call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is citizens' input. If you have anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward. You have 3 minutes to speak. It's not like we have any citizens' input, so we have a delegation. Jordan Hansen for the dog park shelter.
Do I come up now or are you gonna explain it? Kevin?
Go ahead.
Okay. Will you bring up those pictures for me?
You bet.
This is working. So, I don't really know how me and Rick met, but we were talking about like dog park shelter. I used to go to the dog park all the time. That is a horrible picture I drew.
You want that one or you want another one?
Yeah, give me the good one. The one I emailed you this morning. Did you get that?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, pull that one up.
I printed them all too.
I don't have a color printer, so you guys don't need to see that. So anyway, what Rick and a lot of the dog park people are talking about is having a shelter. A 3-sided shelter to stop the wind. If you've ever been out to the dog park, there is like not much wind block. So I have a ton of extra lumber laying around and stuff from my apartment projects. I said, well, I could build that. And we got a new YouTube subscriber over here too. So I'm just here to ask for permission to build one. I will furnish everything. I was hoping to have license plates, but that seems to be a little controversial because it's kind of eclectic. But it's going to be basically a 3-sided shelter, just like a dugout, just like the ones by the softball fields. A single sloped roof. I am going to bury 4x4s over 4 foot deep, cement them in. I'm going to have Nestor fencing do that, so they're below the frost line. Probably 6 foot in the back, 8 foot on the front. Probably 2x6 or 2x10 trusses, single slope on the top, depending on the snow load, at probably a 410 pitch, and then build a little bench on the inside. I was hoping to not have to do concrete on the inside, but it sounds like Rick may have someone that can do some concrete. That's going to be expensive. I'll pay for the concrete that's going in the post holes, the posts themselves, and then I'll sheathe it with OSB, just like any other building. Same for the roof. I'll do tin on the roof, and then siding is, I guess, up for discussion. License plates are free, and that's my favorite kind. And then I also have 5 leftover windows I can't return right now because I bought them on clearance. I was hoping to slap those in there too, or else I'm going to have to try to sell them on Facebook or something. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or concerns. I talked to Joe Schroeder and John Haig. If it's under 200 square foot, which it will be, there is no permit that's necessary, and I don't know that there's any building codes that need to be followed, but I'm a builder, so I know all the codes and the snow loads and everything I can pull up. Basically, to sum all that together, it's cold out there and windy from the northwest, and people would like something to, I mean, I used to go out there all the time, and then it gets cold, and it's like nobody goes out there in the winter. And I believe the dog park is one of the busiest parks in town. So it'd be a cool, free amenity. And I don't have much going on these days, so I figured I might as well slap another building up in my free time. So just let me know what you guys think.
Where's it going? Zach.
wherever these guys want. So I'm I need to go talk to everyone, but I'd say it's near the center in the big dog park with the back of the building facing northwest, because that's where most of the wind comes from, kind of in the trees. So it'd be on the southern, like southeast of those trees, that tree belt. Was it right? Yep. I should have drawn a map, but I didn't. It looks like Kevin's pulling it up.
Well, I give it a spell first. And when I'm looking at stuff in miniature versus large.
Just, what are you typing in
Typing
anyway?
in Davison County.
Oh, you should just be able to click on maps and zoom in.
Yep.
That'd be a little easier. Just type maps. So, I don't know. I like building stuff. I got a lot of extra plywood and windows and 2x4s I'd like to not have to store for the next 15 years because my friend owns a storage unit and he would love for me to put my stuff there and pay $5,000 just to store $100 worth of stuff.
Or unless I'm thinking incorrectly, and those guys will tell me better, windows sound really scary and a giant vandalism risk.
Right, yep. So
They just do.
I had thought about that because Kevin had brought that up. So I was looking on my way to the dog park. You have windows at Cadwell. There's windows at the Sportsman's Club. There's windows at the day camp. There's a window up at the shelter at Hitchcock Park. I don't know if they've ever gotten broken, or I'm guessing someone's.
Right behind the middle school.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was thinking too.
And I think we're pretty flexible on the windows, Rick. I mean, to me, I was like, well, it'd be nice to have light, and then if there's some sort of dog attack behind or whatever, it'd be nice to like see and look
Right.
and say, where's my little doggy? Is he getting attacked? I mean, it's usually a pretty good crowd out there, but safety first. So whatever. If you guys know someone looking for windows,
Be facing the road, so.
shelters would be facing the road. Right.
So large size, small size.
Okay, so move your mouse straight down from where it's at now.
Straight down.
Right in there.
In there.
Yep, maybe like right in that area. So the back would be towards the north, and then the sides would be on the east and the west. Maybe with a slight tilt to the southeast. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
Windows will all be on the tree side there, then,
yeah, that's what I was hoping.
the openings.
And then hopefully I can just do some pink rock or like some pea gravel on the inside, and then build just like a 2x4 or 2x6 bench, you know,
So is the goal of the shelter to provide shade or is it to provide wind protection?
wind protection.
The only.
Maybe shade. Why not? It could do both.
Mostly the wind.
Right. Yeah. And if it doesn't,
Today, I was out there and it's brutal.
yeah.
Who would be in charge of maintaining it once it was in place? Should we perform it?
I'm not sure what maintenance it would take, but like I was telling Rick, if someone broke the window, I mean, I could just go frame it up and side it in. It's not a big deal. As far as maintenance, I don't know how much maintenance a three-sided shelter needs. I mean, I'm sure the cost is probably not zero. But I think the dog park people are pretty awesome as far as volunteering and stuff.
Yeah, we've got people who would help me.
Plus Kevin, we got Kevin here.
I don't know. I did go out and look at the dog park. I do own 2 dogs. I've never been to the dog park, ever.
You should go.
No.
I've met your dogs, don't go.
No. But has there been vandalism in the dog park? Does anybody know?
There has been a little bit, not very much,
So
so
compared to other parks,
not as much as other parks. no.
And Rick's working with someone at Muth to, I think, try to get a donation for a light put in there that would run from sundown to maybe 11 or something. The chances of vandalism being zero is probably zero. People love breaking stuff. And
my concern would be glass windows versus maybe plexiglass windows, just the cleanup.
yeah, at that point, I would just do no windows. So
I think the risk there is, as a dog owner, if I was using that park, I would want to see my dog,
right,
you know, and make sure that, probably making sure my dog wasn't doing something stupid, like digging a hole or tearing apart a small dog. But I guess the windows, I think, if there were a shelter built there, I think windows would probably be a a must, and then you think law enforcement side, they would like to be able to drive by and see in. I think if you have a three-sided building with no, an example would be the dugout.
Yep.
If you have a dugout in a public place where people can hang out, people aren't generally hanging out at the softball diamond or baseball diamond at night. But if you, say my wife was going there and taking the dogs there, I don't know if I would be super excited for her to go into a building with no windows
Right, exactly.
and no visibility from the road. I think windows would be important. On the flip side, that is also probably your biggest vandalism point. That would be my only concern, I guess.
Do people break a lot of windows, or do they spray paint names? I think would be the number.
Lots and lots and lots of things.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean,
Ruined toilets, I don't know how many things we went, every month it seems like there's something,
Oh, we had spray paint last night at
It's-
skateboard park.
something.
Oh,
multiple, I mean, we replaced multiple doors on a shed near the pump track.
oh yeah, I saw those.
Currently it's plywooded over. We're gonna build a security door to go over the roll-up door. So it's, that one was every time we put a new door in, it got kicked in within a month or two. So
We won't have any doors.
Well, there's no instructions there for people to go in and vandalize. Once there's something there, that's when people think, hey, let's go check out that. It becomes a canvas, it becomes anything. Shelter.
What are we not thinking about as a board? Like, you guys deal with these types of spaces every single day,
Maintenance,
as in,
Will it have concrete floor? I don't know. I mean, it sounds like, I personally don't want to spend it because it's probably 2,000, you're going to triple the cost of the building for going concrete versus like pea gravel or pink rock, but it sounds like he's got a guy.
I'll talk to Dean Rubin, and we can probably get a deal on some.
if you don't concrete it, then it's gonna be a muddy mess, because all that pea rock will just scatter. It's gonna start to sink in, and then snow. It's gonna drift in, who's gonna go scoop, shovel it out?
That'd be up to us, park members, and I'm there.
Well, we do all the gates every time now.
What's that?
We do all the gates every time now.
You do all of what?
The gates,
The gates.
The gates and the fences.
so you guys can get in, but then I'm gonna get calls that we can't get in the shelter. And it's gonna drift in because it's facing that way, and three-sided, even if it was one-sided.
I don't remember, we talked, it's been a while, but we kind of had a priority list. We talked about the dog park before. It's been a while, but two things that I remember discussing that were kind of high on our list or some of our lists were lights and speed bumps because of the people that were traveling through there so fast.
As far as this road.
Yeah. So those are the two things I think that, and I, we've talked about the lights a couple times or whatnot. I can't remember why the speed bump.
I think it had something to do with the road. It was not a city road or something to that effect, that you couldn't put speed bumps on it. That's been from a couple years ago.
They didn't do the speed bumps, but they did
No,
do
it is. Speed limit.
speed limit signs. They did put those up, but not the speed bumps.
So dog park users in questioning one side over the other in terms of where to put a proposed shelter. We're saying that this side gets used more in terms of the size of the dogs or the number of people coming with their dogs.
Yeah, that's the big dog side.
Right. But that means there's not one for this side.
No, but we're looking at putting one there, and I've talked to a family that'd be willing to donate the materials and labor and everything to build one on the other side.
Is there gonna be any security or cameras out there if we go forward with this? Because at some point, there's gonna be a need for that because we'll wonder who did what.
We're finally just got cameras. They're not operational yet, but being installed at the ice arena right now. And I believe it's on a list throughout the whole city. And when it comes back around to us, there'll be cameras in other spots before the dog park.
Sandy Beach is happening this year.
We have noticed, a bunch of us at the dog park, that the police department does drive by there about every hour, hour and a half. and I'm sure they're checking on Capitol Park also. There is some, police activity around there.
Okay, which Scrapper Guy is a camera that faces the skateboard park, so he moved? He's not in that building anymore?
I guess the way I look at vandalism is, I mean, I own properties and people wreck it too, and like, if the objection is we can't do anything because of the possibility of vandalism, nothing will ever get done, ever. I would rather build something and have it get destroyed than have nothing for the rest of my life. And if we gotta go fix it, we fix it. If I have to fix it, we fix it. If Rick's gotta fix it, we fix it. I think if people get something destroyed, it's much easier to rebuild. Because right now, there's nothing.
If the board is leaning toward seeing that this would be an asset out there, two sides would be a lot more, should we say, viewable from the public going past and seeing that there's not some that is open and not enclosed.
So you wouldn't be able to build a roof on a two-sided building
So-
unless you have a post there.
So one open.
So, right, so the northwest side open and the closed, and the northeast side.
Well, how about I could build it with three sides, and if someone destroys that third side or there's problems, I go rip it off.
I think even besides, you've gotta have it out there with the wind, snow.
Kevin, do you want three sides, just, or two sides to make the snow removal easier? Is that
Snow
why you're?
removal easier and security in terms of driving past and seeing that if there's not something mostly enclosed, that people.
I have a question about snow removal. Do you guys, like, right now, go shovel a path to all the playground equipment in the winter? Probably not, right? So I don't know why we would ever.
Every sidewalk. All sidewalks.
Right, but there wouldn't be a sidewalk up to this. It would still just be dirt and grass,
There's sidewalks up to the gates of each.
right? But if you put a dog park, you know, 140 yards in, nobody's gonna go shovel that. That's,
Nobody's gonna go to it if there's a lot of snow on the ground either. We get very.
yeah, I mean, to shovel a football field worth of snow to get to a dugout is crazy.
I guess as long as we don't get a request for that after the shelter. That's what I was just thinking about.
That's tough. That's a future problem, I guess, but.
Well, I know for a fact, we posted on this dog park that we have to take care of shoveling the snow, it'll get done. We'll all do it, and I'm out there a lot, so.
Or we can put up signage that says it's not getting shoveled.
There you go.
Snow removal. I don't know if that's even a possibility.
I have a hard time well, I guess, what do I know, but I have a hard time believing someone's gonna call and say, shovel me a path to the dog park. Okay, everyone's got a grin on their face like this is a strong possibility here.
It's a very strong possibility. We get
Yeah, I
calls
was
right
gonna
now.
go swinging
to-
out at the park. Can you shovel me a path?
We get calls right now to make sure the gates are shoveled so they can get in.
Yeah, that's just access, I guess, but
And then you get the big dog to run over the fence because the snow is full of fence in now.
Kevin, have you talked to any other people that go out to the dog park or volunteer out at the dog park at all about this structure?
Jeremy had a conversation with somebody a couple weeks back in terms of, they thought their needs from their user standpoint was for going for lights. One in the large area, one in the small area, and one in the parking lot, just outside the entrance of this, so it's well lit.
I think that the discussion moved away from the shelter because in 2022, there had been some money donated to the dog park that, not sure what happened to it, that was supposed to go to the shelter, and people got discouraged at that point and kind of just gave up. So I think they kind of just moved away. I don't have any evidence or facts of that, but that's the scuttlebutt. So I'm like, well, rather than rely on something else, let's just step in and get it done.
Clarified, it was a total of $600 that was brought in for which there were receipts given for donations prior to my time to the dog park.
And I don't know that, but that's just, and I think either way, whether it did happen or whether it didn't happen, that's where the discouragement started and kind of the shelter.
I have never heard talk of a shelter before. I've heard talk of a wall being put up, and that was about it, like a I think there's someone that came in and wanted to do a memorial wall kind of thing, where that's all I remember hearing talked about up there. And picnic tables, obviously, and water, and
We were actually talking about putting up the shelter, and Jeremy met myself and Joe Murphy out there and talked about where we put up the shelter, so
okay.
that's been a couple of years ago.
And for me, I guess, whatever happened in the past is whatever. We're here today deciding if it's a good idea or not. So I guess I'm flexible on some of the stuff. I'd love to make the donation of my time, effort, labor, and money to maybe add a free asset to the community with maybe some possibilities of vandalism and maybe a little bit of shoveling. I mean, I can't say that I can add something free with zero maintenance because that doesn't exist. So if we have to take a few negatives with a large positive, I mean, that's a decision you guys are going to have to make.
Well, I guess from my standpoint, when I first saw this come through, I'll tell you what my very first thought was.
No
My
way.
very first thought was, I've been on here, 5 years now, and no project has happened this way. There's usually
I'm a
here's.
first timer in a lot of things.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I'm just saying, so usually what happens is, we look at, okay, well, if we're gonna build one, we have to build two, because it's gotta be
Really?
unfair to build one and not build the other group, the second one, right? I mean, that's just unfair. And then
I'll buy one, you buy one.
having I don't need to go to the dog park. In fact, I'm allergic to dogs.
Really?
But anyway, and then I thought, well, normally we'll get a set of plans in that has very detailed where it's gonna go, what's gonna happen, and so that we can look at it and say, they can look at it and say, okay, here's the adjustments we need to make it work. And so, I guess, me personally, I'm not against any of this. I just don't know that we've kind of checked all the boxes yet to get there, if that makes sense.
What boxes do we need to check?
I would say,
You won't be getting any detailed engineering plans from me, so.
well, it's not engineering
Okay.
plans. I mean, it's even like, this is the exact location it's gonna go, and that Jeremy approves of that location, and, those kinds of things. Unless I'm wrong, Nathan, or Kevin, this is usually how it goes, right? I mean, that's kind of the process we usually use. And so, is there a process set up for projects like this
Typically, there's
to
a
move
relationship
forward?
Come in and we provide the labor, or for that, because the dollars are donated, and then it's a coordinated effort of something professionally done, not saying they're not professional.
Right.
By any means, it's just a matter of.
Appreciate that.
There's a reason for that.
Right.
I mean, it sits on city property, this is gonna be a city-owned facility.
Right.
So we have a standard, and the standard is, I mean, if this is marked, I think the word you used was, I'm gonna slap up a building, Jordan, and I hear about slapping up a building, I'm like, that's not in keeping with what the city of Mitchell, what we do or how we do it.
Yeah.
And so
Those
this
were probably a
was-
poor choice of words, yeah.
Yeah, one poor choice of words, I just kept waiting for you to take it back and do something different.
My mind only goes
Anyway,
forward.
this will be a city facility. So there's a proper protocol that you go through, and if you want to donate labor, then when that's going up, or when we go through the process, if you want to donate the money and let the city go through the process that has been established for city government, then I think that's what we do, Jordan. This is not a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. But slapping up a building and kind of saying, well, there's not going to be any engineering plans, or this is going to be kind of slipshod kind of construction, I think we need to do better because the city's face is on it. So, if this is something that we want to do, by all means, let's do it. If you've got money you want to donate, even if you have materials, but we've got to go through the proper channels, in my opinion.
It's kind of where I was sitting here too.
It's
This is just a different way than it had been done before.
Yeah, it's
It's just different.
this will be the city of Mitchell,
Just,
right? The city of Mitchell's logo should be on this building. So that being the case, I can see why we don't want to put, no offense to the eclectic license plates, but it's a city facility, so we need to have it, I just keep thinking, if we just let everybody just go, I'm gonna throw up a this here, and I'm gonna throw up a this here, because it's a good idea. There's so many good ideas, Jordan, but there's still a plan and a way and a procedure that we go through to get it done. And once again, I'm not saying this isn't a good idea, but let's go through the right process.
So what would that process be?
So if you have items that you have, that you're willing to donate, and you can say, I'm gonna make a donation to the Park and Rec Department, and then it goes through channels. I mean, it goes through, it'll have to come to the city council, and it's gonna have to go and be approved and be part of the Park and Rec board is gonna have to make an approval of the plan. And I mean, I just had someone reach out to me about something completely unrelated, and they were like, let's go to where we want to go to the city council. And my answer was, you're gonna first have to come to the Park and Rec Department. So that was what I said. So in that situation, I'm like, before you do that, you gotta come to the Park and Rec Department because this is what you're talking about doing. Well, in this case, there is that same kind of a procedure. Again, Jordan, I admire you for your enthusiasm, and I'm excited that you see this as a need and that's something you want to contribute to. But let's put those people, Kevin knows who needs to do what to get this done. Let's have Kevin put a plan together. You tell him what you've got to donate. Let's figure out where on that property you want to put it, and are we going to do one, or are we going to do two? And then it's going to have to go through the proper channels. I think we have to. That's why we have. Otherwise, it becomes a free-for-all. It really does.
And giving him a little bit of benefit of the doubt, he did go through Joe and he went through John.
Yeah, I see that.
Right, yeah. And they said if it's under 200 square feet, you don't need a building permit.
Yeah.
Right,
You don't need a building permit, but you still need a plan that's going to make it so that it is like all the other city-owned properties. It's built with a certain level of quality, and it's something that's going to be insurable, because by all means, this is going to be a place that if it is not done to a certain standard and someone is hurt, heaven forbid, whatever that looks like, I don't know what you're building, I've never been in your building, but whatever that
They're nice.
looks like, we have to make sure that it's done to the quality and the standard, that it's going to be insurable. And I'm looking at all you people out there who have all the answers that I don't have. But you know what I'm saying, right? That we need to just make sure that this is going to be built at a quality level and be representative of Mitchell facilities. And if we don't do that, then the next people that come and say, I want to throw up a playground at the squirrel park, that's what I call it, right?
We should get a squirrel park.
Let's get some, no, but I'm just saying, then all of a sudden there's a free for all. Well, you let Jordan Hanson build a dog park shelter. So we want to build this, and then because this.
Okay, so let's play that scenario out. What would be the proper channels, right? Talk to Joe, talk to John. At the council meeting, you're going to need some sort of plans from like builder's first source as far as snow loads, wind loads, structural weight.
Somewhere between there and here.
That was what the other picture was.
I'd like to see some consideration of the things we talked about, make sure it has concrete floor listed, plexiglass windows.
I think just some window, correct me if I'm wrong, I just think the plexiglass would be a little more,
Yeah, I mean, really, plexiglass is probably not as good because it's not going to hold up to wind. You would actually, like, building code would be you'd want tempered. And a tempered window's very expensive, $500. I mean, it's made out of a car windshield, pinball glass, whatever, you know what I mean? Are all the other windows tempered in the city?
My brother does calving, and so he has calving shelters that,
I thought you said
that do plexiglass.
Okay.
They're like I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's basically like your tin panel. It's got the same bumps and everything, but it's a clear plexiglass that you can see. And same purpose for what you're looking for. Gives you the ability to have light in there, see through it, and all those sorts of things. But it's still a plexiglass product, so it doesn't shatter into a million sharp pieces.
Right.
So that might be something to look at.
you just don't want the glass to get broken out there, then have dogs step on it. You're gonna have some issues, because it's just, glass, you can't get it all picked up. Plexiglass, if you break into pieces, it'll be not a million little pieces that dogs will step on. That was my only thought there. I agree, though, you can't hold things up based on vandalism, because it's just gonna happen. You don't wanna hold up any projects based on that, or we wouldn't do anything in this town. I agree on that. I do think it should, I agree with Kevin on this, that somewhere between this and finding a contractor is where I think we need to come. I think, again, I don't use the dog park, I'm sorry, but if I was gonna use the dog park, I personally would want some wind protection. And, and I think I would want to have viewable sides. It does sound like this is gonna be 2 projects though, not just one, unless you can somehow put it on top of that hill between the small dog park and the large park somehow. Having the back face to the northwest, and then have a fence and, split it so you have half and half, or somehow make it that, or you could sit inside the shelter and go out each side into the small dog park. So my point is you'd be viewable from that point on both sides, in both the small dog park and large dog park, people could go in there. And I don't know if you know where I'm talking about, but there's a little bit of a hill there where the fence is. If you had it somewhere on top of there, yeah.
Yeah, right there.
And you can't really see the topography there, but yeah, that's a little bit of a hill. Clearly, you're not going to see the back of that large dog park. That's a pretty large park in there, and the trees are in there. I mean, you can't see that now unless you walk back there. But that seemed to be like a good location. I'm not telling you where to put it, but so otherwise you're going to have to build 2 shelters. Now we're talking about 2 things. So
And we'd want those 2 things to match.
yes, we'd want them to match.
Say, well, I have this material left over.
It's crazy how 0 can go to 2 real quick.
I agree. I think it needs to be one building so there's less issues seeing things out there. Sight lines and whatnot. So if there's a way to be able to put it on both sides of the fence, and then how many buildings on city property and parks like this do not have lights? I mean, I think there has to be lights. If there's
There's no lights at the band shell
Can I say something about the lights?
or any of the dugouts.
Right now, in the middle of the parking lot, there's lights, there's a little brown building or tan building out there, and I think it's storage for Gatwell Park. But we get some lighting from there, but that kind of covers the parking lot area. I met with Paul Muth, and he's getting me with a guy, I'm supposed to meet him tomorrow, but we're thinking, and I'm just gonna talk to them, see what they say, but possibly putting a light between the 2 parks where you're saying put a shelter, where I don't know if you're familiar with that dog park, but on the big side where the water fountain is over there, you go maybe 5-6 feet down the fence line there and put up one light and use the same type of lighting they're using in the park, in the parking lot, which they have lights on all 4 sides.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that like at, what's the park over by Dakota Wesleyan?
Pioneer.
That has the shelter there.
Pioneer.
I mean, there's light, but whether it's a street light or whatever the case, but they all have lights, right?
Not all
Not all of
shelters, buildings, no.
No. Hitchcock is dark.
It's really easy for a police officer to drive through there, know the building's there, lights, in the fall when it's dark, at 6 o'clock, and I would see if I was utilizing the dog park at those times of the year when it gets dark early and I get off of work and I want to take my dog out, myself would be more concerned about lighting. And if I'm going to go sit underneath a shelter, I for sure want lighting too. So I think, I agree, there needs to be a shelter out there, but it also has to come with lighting. Has to. So that needs to be in the plan too. There can be one in the middle of the park too, but at the shelter, I think there needs to be lighting.
And what I imply is that a shelter would sit between both fences, actually a fence splitting it, but then it would have to be large enough to serve both sides. That way it's not playing favorites to one or the other. But we'll take a bigger chunk of money to make that happen. I was trying to pull up one in a previous community in which I've been involved, or there was about $7,000 in materials, and that was a 20 by 30 shelter, and the fence did split it between large side and dog side. It wasn't enclosed on any side, kind of steel roof over it, close the bottom side to keep birds and wasps and what else from getting in there making nests. But that was more elaborate. Again, it was planned with money coming in ahead of time to make it happen. And as I indicated in an email to each of you, the city council has been very supportive in terms of projects that come in where people say, we like this idea, and we will bring to the table this much money. And they've been supportive in matching that sort of thing when people can with dollars. And I'm not saying that Jordan's idea isn't wonderful. It's neat that somebody wants to donate the entirety of what the cost is of the project. Is it gonna serve the needs that we have?
But I'm not rich. I'm only bringing a small amount of money. My skill is labor, and I am a contractor, and that is where, to me, where the value's at. I mean, it's a lot of labor, it's a lot of materials, it's not a lot of materials, I guess. It's a lot of tools, you know? I mean, if I'm gonna donate money to have someone else build something, it's not gonna happen, because I'm not gonna go give my money to some other builder to build something I can build myself. So I'm just gonna throw that out there, but I understand all your guys' stuff. Like you said, you need something between this and a contractor. Well, I've built a lot of things just drawn on a napkin. And I guess I don't know where the next step is. It seems like an imaginary thing if it's not an engineered design. Because between a napkin and an engineering thing, there's really nothing.
Then we need an engineering design. I mean, if that, in reality, sorry.
Do you have a friend with
In
CAD?
reality, that is
What'd you say?
You have a friend with CAD or
Yeah.
design software? I mean, I don't think you need to go to an engineer.
No, you need a design.
Right, you can do that in CAD.
Dimensions and
I
those
went
sorts
to
of things.
Menards and talked to Eric. First of all, they have funds that they donate to a city. We have to get, do the proper channels. But they will donate stuff to projects. But I went back to the building materials and said, we're thinking about a shelter. Well, show me what you got. And they pulled it up in CAD. Exactly, 3-sided, here's what we want.
Why didn't you bring that up earlier, Rick?
Ain't got cost.
But I think they'll print that off for you.
Oh, yeah.
I've done the same with the.
Sorry, Jordan, but
So, okay, come on now.
that would be better than this.
Listen, I've built tens of thousands of square feet of stuff off.
In
paper.
defense of Jordan, when he sent me another document today that had 2 attachments to it to put up on here, this one wasn't a part of it. It was.
Yeah, that was step one.
Oh.
Was step
And
one.
the other license plate covered.
Okay, so let's replay this hypothetical, because I want to see the path to success. You're telling me I need CAD design, lighting, cement floor, tempered or plexiglass, 2 rather than 1, or a larger one that shares 2 units that can somehow have access to shoveling.
Agreement on a color, if we're looking at size on it, agreement on the color of the roof. We wouldn't want yellow, we wouldn't want blue, maybe I'm just speaking out of turn.
Well, they're out there already. Jeremy, how many structures are out there?
At the dog park?
No. At Cadwell Park, between the softball fields and Cadwell and
A lot. It
over
would,
by Drake.
the colors would be Cadwell green or the brown of the fence around.
Yeah,
The
so
dog
And a blue roof and a red roof?
they're identical to those are the sunshades.
Yeah.
So that structure right there, that's not steel roof though, is it?
No, that's like a cloth.
That's bad.
No. On the building, go.
That's probably
Yeah, it is.
shingles.
That's still roof.
That's steel roof.
Oh, really?
What about the other one just down? Go down, Kevin.
Yeah, those will be
Go
steel.
down. There, you just that building right there.
That
All the-
picnic
That's
shelter,
still roof.
no, that's shingled.
That's shingled.
Yep.
And that's a shelter.
That's just a roof.
And
for
that's the
picnic
tan.
tables.
That's the tan
Yep.
painted.
Ask Dennis, he lives there 6 months a year.
I mean, it's gotta look like.
It'll match. It's gonna,
Which 6 months?
there's a few colors out there that,
Well, not at night.
Okay, well, well,
But they're.
I've heard the story.
They're all shingled or they're steel roof.
Yep.
They're all, but I didn't know how many, because they used to be, and then when hail came through, you guys, did you go back and re-shingle or did you start turning them all to steel?
both.
That's the nearest shelter right there, right? That one right there.
This
Yeah.
has no sides, correct?
No sides, no. 4 posts in a row.
So I'm hearing is we want,
Sure.
So, yeah, I know they talk about the windows, but the dugouts, he's got a picture of the dugout.
I will find it.
There it is.
Maybe this is old school, but it used to be dugouts about 3/4 of the way up was open along the back.
Yeah, yep.
What would be wrong with maybe a foot between the top of the walls to the ceiling, leave that open. The main things you want to get out of the wind, if you got, 5 foot, you can duck under, in the benches, stay out of the wind, but you've also got it open where it's visible all the way around. And the thing I've talked to a number of people, dog parkers, let's keep it natural, just put natural wood where it blends in with the park, with the trees.
That doesn't come with free materials.
We'll cut a tree down. I know they're happening.
That was something I had mentioned, it was a tongue and groove, I think that's a really nice sturdy, you stack something like that, it's a solid.
I mean, there's so much. You could do shake or cedar, thatch, palm trees.
It's a little bit eclectic.
Hey, I just got back from Mexico. Half the buildings were palm trees in the jungle.
so what I'm hearing is we kind of want we want a material list too of what you're gonna use with the design.
Here, write me an email. Pull me up an email. I just want to have a list of things that I know, so I don't have to go home and.
Well, the protocol, like Susan's talking about, is this is the design, somebody writes up the design, and then they price it out, and then they bring it to us and say, this is what it's gonna cost.
That's usually what we do when
Yeah,
the
and
city builds
then,
it.
and then we can go about and say, well, what do you have to make this happen, and how
Right.
much more money are we gonna need? That's
You're not going to need any money, other than maybe the cement that I'm definitely not paying for.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We go through the channel, we figure out exactly what it's gonna look like, we all okay it, and then we figure out what we have. Well, we have the labor to do this, we have the labor to do this, we have the labor to do this, it's not gonna cost us, but we don't have the labor to do this, so this is what we're gonna have, then we know what dollar figure we're
That makes sense.
looking at.
I priced it, Menards would have cost to build that building, they showed me the picture of it. And I got the cost on that, but
It was 1,180.
it wasn't badly priced.
Okay, what else is on my list,
For
Kevin?
this one here,
Materials, CAD, color,
Yeah,
texture.
Materials need to be agreed upon in the color, texture of what the material actually is, roof design, windows, are we?
We do an open space or windows?
I like the idea of just
Location.
having the windows open.
You mean like a slot,
Yeah.
like a 5 or 6 feet up?
like an old school
Yeah.
dugout.
Is 5 feet too high?
Blocky from the wind.
I like old school.
Look out. It only has to be a foot maybe at the top,
Yeah.
but where you can look all the way around.
But how high up? 'Cause,
Well,
I
probably
mean,
about 5 foot up, in the last.
So if you're sitting, right, then it's going to be above your head, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Above your head.
You're still going to get some wind ripping through there, but
Like this, and it's only 8 feet long, how much does it take to poke your head around the corner to look where your dog is? And you're-
maximum of 4 feet.
The trees, so it's not like there's something behind you, it's, the park is in front of you, so to speak.
Dogs are crazy. Maybe we could do like a little slidey door, like one of these. Just open it up and then just close it back. I mean, that's a fair compromise, huh? Like a little peephole.
I just leave it open year round. as long
I
as
don't really care. I just want to build it. Okay, just make sure we get a good recap email.
So when we come back with a.
Is location fine? Or, I mean, does it have to be split between 2 parks? Because then you're going to have a double gate probably to keep small and large dogs. Maybe we start with one,
If we
and when
get
someone,
donations to build 2, can we do the 2? We've got,
I'll build the second one if I don't want to pay for 2 of them, but
I've got a family that said they donate everything to build.
as long as they match,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So I think
Come with the
same color, same whatever. They don't have to.
Yeah.
What'll happen is you guys will get this all on a plan and you'll bring it back to us, and then that's where we all sit down and we actually vote on it. I mean, that's-
Okay.
That's how the process works.
Well, we're saying,
Got a first timer here.
Color, I mean, same design, be it block, be it.
Yeah,
seal,
whatever
be
it is, yeah.
Whatever.
So can we start with one and see how the public reaction is? We get an outrage on the second one, or maybe we just, if they match, we start rolling after that?
Well, again, I think there's a process.
Well, that's what I mean.
don't-
Well, that's what I'm
we
saying.
don't-
I'm trying to lay out the whole process ahead of time. So like, if we do one, maybe that, like, when we, I'm not asking for it today, but if we come back, we get the first one done, see how that one goes, and then do the second one? Or are you expecting to have two right away from the get-go? That's my question.
Somebody that wants to donate one and it meets the specifications of this board and they're in agreement on that, I think that's a starting point. In my opinion, it's their agreement.
I just want to make sure we can reproduce it and have a matching one when we
Correct.
come back and want to do.
Gotcha. Tuck it in the file.
Jordan, I know that the desire is to move quickly, and I think one of the things that I've learned over the last 11 years is that things, there's just the process that you have to go through. So, again, appreciate the ideas and your desire to make something better. Let's just take it through the right channels.
So let's assume I can get on the next meeting and I'll have everything done and ready by then. It's gonna take me 2 days to knock this list out. Can we do that and then vote on, at that time? Pending I meet all of your requirements.
So I've got CAD design.
Yep.
Materials to be agreed upon, plus color, texture, et cetera. Roof line and materials for that.
Mm-hmm,
Windows, question mark, location and direction it will face.
mm-hmm.
We need like a placement on the overall map, so we can,
That would be location.
oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Just put a little X on that.
There's no water lines or electrical lines.
I would, you have to have it located before you, I do not put a hole in the ground because I have hit a water line and it'll never happen again.
There's no electrical water lines from probably, if we put it where we're talking, it's probably 50 feet away.
You still have to call before you dig because it's liability. Whoever hits it has to pay for it, and I'm definitely not paying for a water line at the dog park, so. It's free. I'm gonna do it the right way.
We have drinking fountain out there, so there is water line coming in. but
For sure.
it's-
I'm sure it's buried.
Where it is.
Do you have lighting on your list? What's the other?
Lighting is something I've been discussing with engineering. It sounds like there's an option for, it's a rent. You put it up, you pay a monthly rent on the lighting system versus paying upfront for the whole capital investment. in
Really?
that. And-
Is it like our street lights? Yeah, so the way I understand that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Northwestern puts up the pole and then the city pays rent for it. And we just need to, it goes to the city council where, you know, those are typically done. In fact, we just approved some, maybe at our last meeting, and those are done by request. So we probably just need to make a request that we have some lights out there. I can see why that's necessary. I think that that would
And
be
once we
something.
get this location nailed down, that would make more sense.
Yeah, but even without the shelter, I think that we probably should be proposing that we put some lights out there just for safety.
Is there a flat enough spot out there where you're looking? I know it all gradually
I have a
slopes
gigantic
everywhere.
70 horsepower skid loader, so if we had to and it was agreed upon, I'd just go flatten it out with a skid steer. I have to figure out a way to get in there, though.
Be very little movement of dirt, but
Yeah.
might have to move some on the big side.
I also have a friend with a mini skid that can make it through those little gates. He let me borrow it. He's gonna bring it to dig to, I mean, there's Nesper Contracting, they just dig a hole for the fence post. So if we had to grade it, we could grade it. And I mean, obviously, we'd have to grade for water flow and make sure if it did rain or whatever, it would drain away. Anything else? Like I said, so here's what my hope is. You give me the list, I check all the boxes, I come back in 2 weeks. Really? I come back in 4 weeks?
Second Thursday of the month.
Maybe I'll email you guys ahead of time, so if we can figure out all the questions and get all the answers ahead of time.
Yep, they can't have a meeting per se as a group via email, otherwise it's considered a public meeting.
I can email them all individually.
Or me and I can,
That works way easier if I only have to make one email.
Because I can send it to them as a group, but they cannot group respond to me or it's a vote.
I knew that. So, one more recap. I just want to make sure all of our ducks are in a row, okay? Materials, locate, I can't read very good on that.
Okay.
I got
So I've
LASIK and they
add
screwed up my eye.
design
Don't
there.
let them shoot lasers in your eyeballs. Doesn't always work.
Be agreed upon on color, texture, et cetera, roof lining materials, be it the way it slopes, be it what it is it steel, is it windows, question mark, location on the map, direction it will face, floors made up of what material, lighting and location of, and lighting may not be on you. I wouldn't push that to him and say that has
Yeah,
to
I could put a solar light in there for like $80. That's probably the best I can do, but if we can make some compromises, I'm willing to do. Rick, are we missing anything?
I was gonna add on the lighting, you mentioned you had to put a pole in.
That's how the street lights are done, that are put up by Northwestern.
Lights have to hang on something.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, there is a pole within about 30 yards from the gates that could probably run off of that. I'm speaking with a gentleman at Muth to see just what they say and get some ideas, but I will say the lighting, I mentioned the lighting in the parking lot like, over that building. It actually, at nighttime, the small dark part, about half of it, you can see fairly well with the lighting from that. You get into the trees, you can't. That's why I thought if you put a light between the two, directed 4 directions, the light's going 4 directions, yeah, it would light up that park like, it'd be amazing. It'd be like daytime out there if you put a light out there.
I was not involved in the lighting discussion, just the building, so. I just want to make sure we check all the boxes, because if it's 4 weeks between decisions, I would hate to have another 4 weeks added to it.
Has anything ever been brought up about putting the porta potty out there?
Yeah, we should do that if we're going to build a shelter, because.
Well, I know a lot of people, that's one of the first things they bring up is lighting and then porta potty. And the shelter. So,
There won't be a porta pot out there,
and reason,
because you have to put it by the curb. They got to be able to clean it, and it will get tipped over in 2 nights.
well, we found some designs where they built a foundation or a frame around porta potty and it's bolted in.
Who cleans it?
Huh?
Who cleans it?
Well, I mean, you say you have to clean it anyway. I mean,
Is
The
there?
truck comes by and cleans the porta pots. Yeah, but they got to be able to drive up there, and they're
There's
not
some
going to
by
off the
the
curb. And
Hitchcock, right? There's 2 at Hitchcock.
they're not going to drive up there. They're not going to drive up there in a truck.
There's 2 at Hitchcock. I just.
why not?
How are they going to get there?
They're,
To what at Hitchcock?
the two in
There's-
Hitchcock are just there for temporary until we get the restrooms turned on. for
Yeah,
the tenants.
there's,
Well, who pays for that? I'm just wondering. I'm just asking questions.
The city.
Oh,
pays
really?
for-
Okay.
that's until they get the water turned on.
Gotcha.
And that-
Okay.
Jeremy's
maybe
got all
they're
the
a
ones
month.
out of- They're all turned on out of Cadwell now.
Water's turned on a Cadwell, all the porta pots are gone.
Yeah.
We do have porta potties at other spots, you know, like the.
Yeah. I think where you were maybe getting mistaken with what he said is you can't put a porta potty way out in the middle of the dog park. He's saying you'd have to have it near the curb
We're saying
to be
how about
emptied.
get close to the road, where you
Yeah.
can drive up to it.
And like, again, I'm not here for porta potties. I don't know, but
That's another issue.
give me the
I
path
think
to
that's 2
success.
different issues.
Hey, don't add that to my list, Kevin.
That's not where we're going tonight, so let's
Correct,
focus
right.
on
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're
One thing at a time for me.
discussing here.
We'll make that separate by
Yeah.
including a space between it.
Oh. God dang it. Put another question mark after it, too.
I did.
Okay, can we all, real quick, sorry to be repetitive, but I just want to make sure we're good. If everyone looks up at the screen or whatever, and just make sure there's nothing else that needs to be checked off the list by me before the next meeting in 4 weeks.
CAD design, materials to be agreed upon, be they, what type of posts you're thinking, are they 4 by 4?
It'd be 4x4, green treated, yeah, yep, 2 foot higher in the front to allow for the slope, which should give you a 410. I mean, I make it 410, that's wind load.
So that's the roof line, 410.
Yep,
Materials to be used on the roof,
windows, location.
those question mark, location on the map, actually gone out of the map, and
Can I just put an X on the map?
X or a box.
Do you guys want to just tell me that where a spot that would be agreeable right now, and then we can?
Show them that, you know, show you where small dog goes. That's not the one.
That's a good looking one. So you just tell me where, and then
So if you're thinking large dog park, this is.
Right there, right where your pointer was, right there.
yeah,
And would actually face the southeast is what I'm
yeah.
hearing.
Does anyone have any concerns about that location? So when I submit all my stuff, well, I'm not figuring about something later.
Well, personally, I'd like to take a look at it before we would proceed.
No, yeah, I'm asking for next week or next month or whatever it should be. If that location, if there's an objection now, we can squash it and find somewhere new is what I'm saying.
Can you pan away to the small dogs?
I guess at this point, is there any objections to that location in the large dog park?
Yeah, if you're gonna straddle so that we can do the small and large, straddle that fence.
Like in the middle of it? But then I'd have to cut the fence out, and then the whole thing would have to get re-fenced.
Now, how do you,
Oh, I see. Or you just run the fence right down the middle, so then,
how do you propose?
I could do that.
Dog parks? If some of the big dogs get to.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that wouldn't be a big deal.
You'd have to have the fence right in the middle, so you can't go.
Yeah, I was thinking there would be access between the two, but there
No.
wouldn't be access, right? The fence would just go right up.
Small dogs gotta stay on one side.
Right,
Big-
okay,
Yep.
yeah. Sometimes I make mistakes. So that would be agreeable, maybe if I could just hear of any objections at this point, so I would know how to plan moving forward.
Why don't you and I get together and go out to Menard and
Yeah, oh yeah, that's easy.
So can I ask that everybody on the board make a trip to the dog park and visit that spot? Are we pretty good with being able to look at a satellite photo and to know where that is in the park? And if not, I'll drive over with somebody and walk up to that spot.
My main concern, like Jeremy said, is just the lay of the ground where it needs to be, the least
Right.
amount of dirt work that needs.
Right.
This is draining to the back, I assume. So if it's sloping to the back, is there a low spot there where it's going to hold water?
Yeah, you'd have to build it at the highest point, obviously.
Right, and if it is a high point and it's draining to that spot, is it going to hold right behind there, like a puddle? That's what I'm asking.
No, if you build at the high point, I mean, it can't really settle. I mean, I guess, I definitely would build at the low point, you know what I mean? So,
Agreed.
I think both spots would be at the high point of those.
and I would imagine if it's gonna hold water later, it would hold water right now, because I'm only adding
Where was the
60
other
square
spot
feet or something?
you're talking about?
Yeah, is that the small dog park?
Right here it is,
There's a gap between those trees.
right here.
A little more to the left.
No, a little further left, I think it's,
On the fence line, he's talking.
yeah, right, you had it.
Go slower.
Yeah, Jeremy and myself and Joe, there's a perfect spot right in the middle there that's kind of open,
This spot?
and it would drain well. Yeah, there's an opening in there between the trees, and it'd be a perfect spot for it, for the small dog.
You gotta write all this down? Man.
I'll keep going back to the email so I get the right one. So we'll add to that funding, who's covering what would be the financial obligation of the city, and just want that clarified on paper. Any other concerns, questions? You gotta get going.
You, but I figured I'd at least stick around for the rest of this discussion.
Appreciate that. So I'll propose two locations, if that's all right. One that rides the fence, one that's on the high part of the dog park, in case you wanted to do two separate structures. You guys can make that decision ultimately in 4 weeks.
Are we going to make a decision on maintenance? Who's going to maintain it? Is that on there?
Thank you.
Because nothing maintains itself.
Any other,
I keep looking back at you guys. Do you guys have concerns? Are there things things that you'd like to make sure that are being taken into consideration?
Maintenance, snow. We're gonna need a lot of P-rock to go around the concrete because it's all gonna get trampled down like the benches are right now where the concrete sticks up 4 inches. And we're constantly coming and moving it back so no one trips on it.
Okay.
We're gonna have a frost line like we did.
Yeah, I'll go below the frost line. That's what me and John and Joe talked about, that as long as it's over.
Fence is another issue,
Yeah.
because those don't go down below the frost line. All right, I think we've got the material, the information that we need of you for the next meeting.
And you'll put me on the next one.
And that included in that maintenance is, repairs and, all of the things that go with maintaining a building that, if you're not here, who's gonna we need to make sure someone's, not that you are gonna be here, I hope you're gonna be here.
There isn't a dog park incorporated.
I mean, that should be, once it becomes under the city umbrella, I would imagine that it should be handled by the city, right? I mean, I'm not saying I'm not gonna go help out and do whatever, but
That's,
for me to pay for it, build it, do all the material, and then maintain it, I would just build my own.
We would be the ones maintaining it. Anything built on a city property becomes the city's property.
Exactly.
So it's our responsibility to maintain
right.
all of it.
And to have somebody come up and say, I will shovel or something, that's perfectly fine. To have them say, I'm going to do repairs in this building for you, we would actually prefer not.
Okay,
it's
so you guys handle the maintenance.
start with,
That's right, that is why that's so critically important.
right.
That's why we'll build it as maintenance-free as humanly possible
That's the goal.
to match everything else that's in your current parks. Which we would-
Jordan?
Yep.
When you say you will build it, are we clarifying that that's part of the agreement? Or are we saying somebody else will do the building? And
No, I will do the building.
for it?
I will build it to whatever specs we agree upon. And that's it. But I don't want to be starting and then being like, well, you need gold-plated doorknobs or something, you know what I mean? So,
Wait, you don't want to do that?
no, I'm a silver man myself. This isn't the 90s.
All right. I'm going to push send here.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll see you in 4 weeks.
There's no changes. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
A motion.
Second.
A second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carried. Minutes. As soon as anybody's ready, if we can get a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Financial reports. Is there any questions for Kevin?
Do you want me to open them, or should we just say that we've all looked at them and you can go from there?
I would say we've all looked at them, and unless there's something you want to point out to us,
No surprises this time?
or any questions.
Nope, nothing of yours.
There's some time if anyone has some questions here. And there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the financial reports in a second. All those in favor say aye. Motion, all those opposed say no. Motion carried. Well, I should slow down a little bit. Department reports. We got Kevin's first. Are there any questions on Kevin's report? Anything you want to?
Everything's working?
What-
Everybody is? Oh, I thought there must be some.
Kevin stops in every morning and touches base regarding what may or may not be causing issues, and as of late, it sounds like, last week he was very delighted to get new key fobs, because they've been waiting a month on those, and they were dozens of people behind on being able to distribute those, but it sounds like all the equipment has been, I don't want to say flawless, but working pretty good as of late.
guess we can move on to Steve's report since there's no questions for Kevin.
Mine, there's not much new, Patton Young Playground, slow going since we had the snow. Every time it snows, melts, it's a mud hole. Now it's rain, slowing us down on that, but we're doing other projects, maintenance on the plaza here, the landscape beds.
Couple trees with the wind.
Yep, had to clean up some trees from the wind. So,
Any questions for Steve? All right, Jeremy?
I got a couple changes. I write these last week to try to be current for tonight, so it's kind of hard. The soccer tournament, we are having one next weekend. It is the 20th and 21st. There's 31 teams. I got a schedule today. They're going to use 6 fields. 10-year-olds and 8-year-olds start at 9 in the morning Saturday till 6 at night, and 9 in the morning Sunday until 2 o'clock. Ice Arena, we did get the new heaters, but we got double booked on getting installed, so they're not going to be installed for this weekend, but I am not turning on heat in the Ice Arena this weekend. And with the rain last Saturday, Sunday, there was a few leaks in the roof, but they are in the same spots they've been in and considerably less leaks than there has been in the past.
Not Palesworth?
No. I'm not filled, they dripped into pails, but I'm not dumping them constantly so it doesn't go all over in the locker rooms.
Questions for Jeremy? Thank you. Kevin?
One last minute thing for me today, a word came through that the funding for the pickleball courts, that grant funding through LWCF is officially approved. So it will be on the council agenda on Monday for council to approve.
Doesn't that deserve a round of applause? Yeah.
So I've reached out to Pickleball Association representative to say, now let's meet to make certain that we're getting all of your needs or wants hopefully met based upon what our budget is in terms of what I had presented at first, what it would be, and what their latest thoughts are. So we'll be meeting with some of those representatives soon.
That's the best news. Those people have waited long enough. This is great news. Bravo to whoever is in charge here. Good, that's you, Kevin.
Thank you.
It's hard to get you guys riled up much. I'm waiting for some enthusiasm. I'm gonna bring cookies next time. No, I'm kidding. I'm just looking for the right words.
All right. So the next item on the agenda we have is the Tennis Association Facility Use Agreement.
Jeremy will quickly verbally point out again what the changes were. I'm sorry, Steve.
the only change on here is the player fee just went up from $12 to $13.
Say that again, how much?
From $12 to $13.
Right here.
Questions? Motion approved. Motion, we have a second?
Second.
Well, I'm not a voting member.
No.
I'll second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Tennis Association Facility Use Agreement for 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Lakeside access area names. Was there any changes from last month?
No surprises in this. The only discussion point had been that Steve did visit with Cindy over at the Indian Village, just to find out whether or not they used what we kind of termed as parking lot 3, which really isn't a parking lot, it's a grass turnaround south of them, to see if they ever use it. They use it maybe once per year. We thought we might be able to leave it go back to grass loam and then mow it when they do need it. I expressed a little bit of concern that when we mow it, then it will burn, not as in flames, but burn as in scorch it. And that still sounds like flames. As in dry it up quickly, and will it come back again? But that's kind of the case with all grass. Once you mow it, it generally at the end of the summer, it stops growing and it turns brown. So that we will not be naming and will likely leave it grow to a certain extent except when it's needed. And we talked about moving the cables. We will not at this time. Otherwise, everything is as we had discussed last month.
Any further discussion? So can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the lakeside access area names.
We have a motion. Can we get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the names for the lakeside access areas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried.
We didn't budget for signs this year. Signs will be approached to purchase those, but may not be this year.
You're gonna put like an updated map on the like parks list or something, but
We can do that.
I know usually when I try to find a park, I go on the city website and try to, or Google Maps, I guess, depending on. Some of them are on there. All right, the next item is the review of the pontoon rental agreement. My only question on this one is it said at one point in there was something about taking a copy of the auto insurance. I didn't realize that would cover a pontoon, I guess.
I don't know that it would either, but generally speaking, if you rent a car,
It covers that.
it covers your car insurance.
I just didn't know if
It's a vehicle. You can get a BWI if you're driving under the influence, so I would assume it qualifies as a vehicle, and you have to be a certain age to drive it. And we've raised that considerably in terms of our concerns for safety. Again, this is discussion time. This isn't for approval on this tonight. So if you have questions or concerns, please ask.
I guess my only other question was about the hours. I would imagine there's some people that are going to want to use it in the evening or, at 5.
What you see listed is based upon the hours that staff would be available to at least get the thing going on the Monday through Saturday schedule. On return, they wouldn't necessarily be the person unless we had them stay after or somebody else came in to take care of that. I see I'm missing a period in between the P and the M.
Where are they,
Myself.
where are they going to take care of this and get everything location as far as them? Are they coming to the rec center? Are they going to the campground? They're going to the campground to take care of this?
With full-time staff.
Okay.
We never asked Kevin if he wanted it, though. Not the pontoon itself, just the rental forms.
So where will the pontoon be stored?
It will be on a covered boat lift within the bay.
Within the bay by the campground?
Yes. Where the current dock goes in for the paddle boats and things. Pedal boats, not paddle boats.
And then will it ever be taken off the water or just during at the end of the season?
Right, the boat lift will stay in the water, but the pontoon comes off, as does the canopy over it.
And then we'll be on the city website for rental, like the shelters and stuff, so you can just go online, or do you have to call, or?
We'll have to call.
I think this is fabulous.
It's a starting point.
Yeah, it's great.
I see it says holiday rates on here, but then it says that you can't rent it on a holiday?
That was just another thing on the back that really shouldn't be on here anymore.
Okay.
That was just, that page 3 we wouldn't need.
Oh, the last, that says.
Yes.
checklist.
So go back, the time as far as is there a set schedule when you have to start your time?
We do have written here 8 to noon or 1 to 5.
So if somebody comes in and says, we want to take it out at 10 o'clock in the morning, they cannot go from 10 until
we would not have a 2 o'clock, or
3.
an evening rental then, or a
So
late
they
afternoon
can't
rental.
what I'm saying is they can't overlap those times. It's only in this window and this window.
The city has to keep within their budgets for staffing and stuff like this. And so since this is going to require full-time staff, and most of us work an hourly schedule with the exception of department heads and supervisors who are salaried. So in that, it's part of the reason why we came up with the times. That's during our staffing times. With the city employees having a union, supervisors are required, there is with the union contract, certain ways that they can flex our schedules and change them, but it can't be on a moment's notice. And if it goes outside of these hours, then like if I would get called in, they automatically have to pay me 2 hours of call-in pay. Plus, if I'm there for several hours, then it becomes an overtime situation and stuff like that. So it's trying to be fiscally responsible
No, I think it's great
with the
that it has
budgets
to
and
be in this
stuff,
time. Yeah.
and trying to keep Kevin and Steve from having to constantly come in and work weekends and stuff like that.
There may be some flexibility in offering a 10 to 2 or something of that nature, but not doing 3 to 7 at night. It would need to, as Angela said, for the purpose of the budgeting and the scheduling for the staffing, as long as it's between that window, I
As long
think
as
we have
it's
some
not-
flexibility.
Booked already, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would limit us in being able to offer the afternoon one if there was somebody going from 10 till
Exactly,
2.
yeah.
As you see, we haven't ironed out all the bugs yet ourselves.
No, I think it's great that it has to be,
That's
then you
fairly-
don't have any issues with overlap, or if somebody calls in last minute and wants it in the afternoon and you say, well, today there wasn't anybody in the afternoon and we went from 10 to 2 instead, and now we lost out on revenue in the afternoon because.
I think that's fairly consistent when I've rented
Yeah.
at other spots. It's been, you either get the afternoon, the morning, or all day.
And those notes you're seeing on page 3, there were some things that we talked about as far as that half-day rental or the full-day rental. I had found some on some other sites where people had done that. They raised the rates on weekends. They raised it even further on holidays, thinking about when you have to pay full-time staff, holidays, we're paying them double time. Sundays, we're paying them time and a half. So there's considerations there. That's why we went away from that, and also went away from the several holidays that are during that time, because to get somebody to commit to that and then have to pay them that rate, we're supposed to make a little money on this too, and not just say, well, let's make it available. So there's a fiscal consideration involved here. And I can see people on the 4th of July saying, well, what about it? But that's one rental.
So can you make a holiday rental enough to cover those costs? And then if someone wants it, then the costs are included or not? I mean, I'm just curious.
You also got to find the person to come in.
Right,
Even
right.
at
So
double time.
is your bigger concern having the availability of the person or having the money, enough money that you're making on it? Making enough money to cover their costs?
A combination of both, but mostly the staff person, because they will ask for days off in advance.
I see.
Even some of the Saturdays, we've got a person who regularly works Saturdays, and he asked the question a couple of weeks ago when I met out there saying, what about the Saturdays where I ask to have off? Do you then cover that with somebody else, Steve?
That's to be discussed yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in my limited experience with whatever, this kind, getting paid extra for holiday rates, it seems like it would be appealing enough that you may have someone go, hey, I'll work till 5 o'clock on 4th of July. Fireworks don't start till 10, I can work till 5, I'm just imagining that it would be appealing to someone if we're paying them enough, but maybe not. Am I wrong? I am wrong, dead wrong, okay.
If it's midweek with a holiday, possibly. If it's a 3-day weekend, not so much.
Then they're like, we're out.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask, I see that are we saying that the people who are running it have to provide their own life jackets?
Nope.
Oh,
We just have to know,
renter must ensure that one properly sized life jacket is on board.
they have to
But you
confirm that we,
It's just that we will make, that
Yep.
the renter has to make sure. Okay.
You have more than one gas can?
It's got a tank on board, so, and that's something that
And how do you fill that up?
staff will fill it from a pump that's down there.
Up there, okay.
When will this start?
Hopefully by June 1, if not sooner.
This is so exciting.
So Steve is working with vendors regarding the dock and the lift, including a local vendor in terms of the pricing and in terms of being able to get that. So as soon as we can get it, we should be able to start offering it.
What signage or, what am I?
Publicity.
Yeah,
Highlight the
advertising or-
availability of it.
Yeah, just to let people know that it's available out there now.
We can do the website for sure, especially on the campground reservation site. Can we list something on there, or is that pretty standardized?
On the city website, we can add. We'll probably go more into advertising once we know, like, we're gonna have the dock, the lift, the things like that, and, because there's still a lot of stuff on the back end that we have to get figured out. We still have to get a payment system established, which IT department is working on. Because when a person comes in, their credit card, we're gonna have to swipe it immediately. It's gonna be charged the $500. Upon their return, then, we have to refund them the $200. There could be extra fees and everything tacked onto that, so. We've got to make sure that we have our stuff in a row too before we start advertising and have people showing up and disappointed that we can't accommodate them yet, so.
Further questions?
I'm just looking, the cleaning, $40 an hour for cleaning, beyond what the city deems reasonable and or normal, but just like, the renter is not necessarily required to be out there with vacuum or whatever.
No, let's say that they pulled over on shore somewhere and stepped in some mud and got it all over the deck. And is that reasonable? I don't know. It's kind of a judgment call. But that might be a point where we had to experience a few of those things to know. But if there's a cigarette burn in the carpet or in a cushion,
A bag of Cheetos.
Dollar deposits.
right?
All good stuff. Gosh, I love this committee. I seriously, these days you guys are opening the house because I love your trees.
Checklist. I can't take credit for creating it. I can take credit for modifying that which I've found elsewhere, and Justin had no problem with that. So I did check with the city attorney on this. And the one from which I modeled it, actually modeled it after one that they found on the U.S. Coast Guard site, but they added a few more, how should we say, icons, emoticons, emojis of different actions and things to be able to add to the attractiveness and the simplification of it. Some things we gave thought to was the buoys in the shallow areas, the spillway, and other things that people would not necessarily know ahead of time.
Not hearing any further discussion, so we'll move on to the next item of the next meeting date. I have May 9th of 2024, 6 PM.
When is it?
May 9th. Meeting's adjourned.